And at 8:36, Eyewitness News is remembering Providence Mayor Buddy Cianci. The late mayor will be lying in repose at City Hall beginning tomorrow before his funeral mass on Monday. Joining us now in studio to share some thoughts and memories on Buddy Cianci, his good friend, former Providence Mayor Joseph Paolino, who will be serving as a pallbearer for the funeral next week, I understand.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, so what a week this has been, Joe. I mean, we talked to you shortly after the former mayor had died on Thursday of last week. And, you know, we heard your emotional interview on Thursday. But since then, tell me about some of the moments that have stood out for you, because I'm sure it's been quite the week.
Let me say two things. Number one, he would be shocked about all this outpouring. He would be so surprised, humbled, and he would love it. He would really love it. But he would be surprised because he and I talked about it. He said, oh, they would never do anything like that for me. I told him about a funeral once I went to at the cathedral and how so many priests were on the altar and on. And it's about a year ago. He said, oh, they never do anything like that for me. In this case, the bishop wants to say the Mass. We were totally surprised and humbled that he offered to do that.
Why would Buddy say that to you? Why do you think he believed that he wouldn't get this big send-off, so to speak?
Because he recognizes some of the problems that he had in the past, and he felt that that would block any tremendous and positive legacy that people would have with him. You know, you asked me one of the things that stand out. There was an editorial that I read in the New York Times on Saturday, and it talked about how to speak of the dead. And it talked about Glenn Frey from the Eagles. And it said, you know, and I thought of this because there were some people, some public people that were pretty curt in their statements about Buddy. And it said, you know, it's okay to not like the Eagles, but it's also okay to keep your mouth shut for a few days after they pass away. And quite frankly, I've been very pleased with what I've heard from so many people, and the mayor of Providence has been incredible. Now here's a guy that defeated Buddy in the last election. You know, they said some tough things to each other. He's been extremely gracious through this whole process and very helpful to the family.
Now, there's no way of really knowing exactly how many people will come to see the mayor lie in repose at City Hall this weekend. We are expecting quite the crowd. But one thing we do know is there may be some notable figures there. You talked about Ray Flynn as a possibility, right?
Ray and I have talked a few times during this past week, sharing stories with each other, and he'll be there. And I'm sure there's going to be a tremendous outpouring of people in Providence. You know, everybody has a story about Buddy. He was around for such a long time. And, you know, he was mayor for 21 years, but he was with us for over 40 years.
Right.
So everybody knows him. He's touched so many people. And I think it's going to be incredible to see so many people all grieving their own way for their Buddy.
Now, I know that his fiancée, Tara Marie Haywood, has not wanted to talk to the media, which is understandable. She's been going through quite the grief process, but you've had a couple of opportunities to speak to her, right? She's
a wonderful young woman, and he really cared so much about her. And Christmas time, he called me up, I'm getting married. And I said, well, it's about time. And he was so looking forward to being with her, and she was great. You know, when he was going through all his medical problems, she was always there. She was always a constant to help him.
Okay. And before we let you go real quickly, you will be speaking at the funeral for Buddy Cianci, is that right?
The Vassar family has asked me to give words of remembrance, and so yes, I will.
And you're working on that. I'm sure that's an emotional time for you to be able to formulate what you're going to say.
Yeah, pretty much so, but it's I want to make sure my friend has a good send-off.
All right. Joe Paolino, thank you so much for coming in. I'm sure we'll be talking to you again following the funeral on Monday. And Eyewitness News will be bringing you live coverage of the funeral mass and the procession for Buddy Cianci on Monday starting at 4:30 with continuous coverage beginning at 8 a.m. You can also watch it all online at WPRI.com.